Almost got all my things packed, every picture that I had, every handwritten letter sent to me. My medal's polished on my chest, my uniform has just been pressed, my dress boots shining perfectly. I've been gone way too long. Send me home on a one-way flight. I'm coming back for good this time, to the place where I was born and raised. Send me home to my family and drape the flag right over me. Now that I've done all I can do, send me home under the red, white, know the moment my plane lands, I'll be with my mom and dad again. I hope that they'll be proud of me. We did our job, we paid the cost, every one of us we lost. Remember this with every breath you breathe. Under the stars and stripes, freedom don't come free. Send me home on a one-way flight. I'm coming back for good this time, to the place where I was born and raised. Send me home to my family and drape the flag right over me.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Welcome to Homeland Hero Salute Podcast with your hosts, Doug Macedo and Tim Chambers.
We are going live. Welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Doug, and today we've actually got a special guest with us today. But before we get over to our guest today, I want to definitely give a big shout out to our last guest, which was Daniel Cooper. So I definitely do appreciate him coming out and checking us out and getting words from him. And so on to our next guest. I want everybody to know who this individual is. Absolutely amazing individual, bestseller author. He's also in 2024 top 100 executive coaching individuals as well. And he's the United States Navy. Navy, everybody, not Army, not like me. We all can't be like me. No. But without further ado, I mean, I want you to introduce yourself. I want you to give us a little more background of who you are and what you do.
Well, thanks, Doug, for having me. Number one, a big hooah to all my Army brothers and sisters. I marched in the purple service, which means, joint service. And
Yep.
so I have a lot of great brothers and sisters that I remember fondly from my time in service. But yeah, in a nutshell, Enrique Acosta Gonzalez, CEO of Triad Leadership Solutions out of Orlando. Served 26 years in the Navy, retired in 2015, and have been doing my dream job, which is helping others get to a place where they can excel without being their own obstacle, right? And so that's what coaching is all about. I also, as you mentioned, authored several books, two more coming in the spring and summer, and as well a speaker and a trainer in the leadership arena.
Wow. Wow. So you've got a lot of notches on your belt. I've got to say, I mean, that's a, big resume right there for you. You know, with all this going on, becoming, a best author, executive, coaching and stuff like this for leadership. Like, how did you know that's what you wanted to get into once you got out of the service?
Yeah, it didn't come immediately, although I had some type of plan around development, executed that as I was going through the years post service.
Yeah.
But it didn't take too long to realize after a handful of jobs and a handful of let going of those jobs
Yeah.
that leadership was really my focal point. I saw poor leadership in the service, and I saw poor leadership in the civilian world, and there is just no greater joy for me than to help somebody navigate how to go from where they are to where they should be for the people
Yeah.
and see them get there.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And I want to rewind a little bit. How long were you in the United States Navy?
Yeah, I was able to serve 26 years.
Wow, 26. Man.
It would have been 30 if they let me. I tell you that, Doug.
Yeah, unfortunately, I only did 9 years, 11 months, 28 days, but nobody's counting. I will tell you, nobody's counting except
No,
me.
no.
But I would have done longer, but once I got injured, that was the done deal. It was seal the deal, put the nail in the nail in the coffin, as they say it. But I continue my service out once I got out, to helping motivate and extend the assistance on veterans getting out of the service and the transitioning. um you know so you're 20, you said 26 years, right?
Right.
um were you in as a enlisted and then went into as a officer, or did you just do all enlisted time?
Yeah, I chose to stay enlisted the entire time. A choice that I will do again if I had to, right?
Yeah.
The real work, the real mechanics behind what the military functions are lie within the enlisted force, right? We get orders, but we make it happen, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to stay in that complement of folks. Besides, as I was able to go up the ranks into senior enlisted and be command level enlisted, senior enlisted leader, that joy I can't replace with a commission.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I did the same thing. I went in as an E1, and then I got out as an E6. You know, I don't think I would ever want to go and become a commissioned officer. You know, speak of it. No, I would never want to become a commissioned officer because, again, like you said, it's the joy of being able to getting the job done. Let the orders come down. Let me say, okay, we're getting it done. Let's execute it and let's get it done, and be able to provide that information and be able to help the lower enlisted, you know, the E1s, to like E4s and stuff, push and get the mission completed. You know, I don't think I know I would never been able to do as an officer, because being behind a desk, it's just not my cup of tea, and it seems like it's not your cup of tea on it either.
Well, not all of them are behind the desk, but it's a separation between order and execution, right?
Yeah.
They reside on the strategic, tactical thing, and we go operational. And I just like the operational side better.
Yeah, and that's a lot of us. I mean, you know, I know I've had family members that've gone and done the commission side and been able to do all that, and it's like, yeah, I like to get the mission done and complete it. You know, and be able to be hands on. A lot of the other ones are like, no, we want to do the opposite side and do this way. You know, so your time in as 26 years, you know, you probably saw, you know, the ups and downs with a lot of, you know, enlisted soldiers come and go through that whole time. Because I mean, 26 years, you probably changed duty station probably half a dozen times, give or take. Would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so you must have seen the guys come and go, and you know, and were you always when it comes? I mean, again, as you're doing as a, you know, as a coach as team leading and stuff like that, you know, you must have, you know, had your fair share of the lower enlisted that, you know, you've had to coach them away and, you know, show them a lot of stuff. And did you ever have to? Did you ever see them? You know, how do I say it? Did you ever see them later on after you dealt with them, and see them later on, like at a higher rank, you know, later on in another unit?
Yeah, definitely. I've been able to keep track of all those that I was fortunate of leading. And yes, it's nice to see them get to where you are, and some even past where I was or where I left off, which is also enjoying an enjoyment, because you know that you had something to do with that, right? If you did it right.
Yeah.
And I see some that had to leave for one reason or another, and they that separated and are doing great things on their own now. And not so long ago, I got a message from one that I was fortunate to have served with, and basically he was saying, thank you for setting the standard so that I could do what I'm doing now. And you know, that's really where it all comes down to, right?
Yeah.
Did you make an impact enough that they can thank you for it later?
Yeah. That's what tugs at, you know, at some people's hearts. It's like, that's what you know inside yourself, that, you know, you made a difference. You've helped that individual to see the potential and to succeed in life later on. That's always a good thing to be able to go back and, you know, say that and see that. You know, when someone can come back to you and say that, that means it really, you did your job, you know, and that's great.
Yeah, it definitely warms the heart for sure.
Absolutely. So, you know, with that, you know, I know we all see it. You know, do you ever go back and say, I wish I did a little bit more for another soldier that, you know, I could have done a little bit better, a little bit different with them?
Yeah, I have this one person. I think overall I did what I was supposed to do, and even the things that I should have done with most of all the sailors that I was able to lead. but there's always one, or for some people, there's always a couple.
Yeah.
For me, it was this one that was separating and wanted to celebrate their service. Now, if you know anything about celebrating service, we typically in the military have our own, you know, customs around things that are celebrated or not,
Yeah.
right? Normally, you don't celebrate someone separating from the service. You just give them the award that's appropriate. You
Yeah.
may have a cake or a gathering, but nothing like a celebration. Definitely not a ceremony, right?
Yeah.
Yet, and still, this young sailor wanted to celebrate in a ceremony type their service, and it just wasn't part of our doctrine. It's not part of our what we call SOP, right?
Yeah.
We don't have instructions around that.
Yeah.
And so one of the harder things for the senior enlisted is to understand where and when they can or can't for the sake of the sailor. But it was not a sanctioned ceremony. I chose to side with my CO and XO and not attend.
Yeah.
But I saw after how that hurt that individual.
Yeah.
So that's one instance that I could think of, and I always think of,
Yeah.
where I, as a senior enlisted leader, what could have I done
Yeah.
to kind of like be in between, not go against my chain of command, and when you're the top three, you got to stick together.
Yeah.
Not in the wrong way, but you got to stick together because the command demands that.
Yeah.
But what could have I done to kind of be in between, right, and do something where they were happy for their service. We celebrated it, and then they go on. But
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I get it. It's that whole, you got to do what's right. Unfortunately, for the chain of command, and not go against those wishes when something is set. And yeah, we in the military we always have an SOP. It's the standard operating procedures, and a separation is not really unless you're retiring. There's really no ceremony. And I know the ceremonies that we've had as lower enlisted, as an E3, E4. It was kind of like a party. Sometimes it was a keg party. Sometimes it was, hey, let's go rent a hotel room, a few hotel rooms, and drink and enjoy the evening. And sometimes it got out of control. But once you get to a certain level, you have to hold yourself to a higher standard, and do what the chain of command says. Unfortunately, not even unfortunately, it's what needs to happen, because you're held to a higher standard. And I get it. I've been there, done it. I probably same thing is like I probably could have done something differently, maybe, but that soldier wasn't too keen after the fact of me not being there. But I've got to do what's right, and obey by what the CO said at that point. Get it?
well, the senior enlisted force are what we call the holders of custom and traditions,
Yeah.
right? And so custom and traditions continue at the guard of the senior enlisted, and so sometimes you just have to think a little differently in order to help sailors, airmen, soldiers, Marines, Coast Guardmen, Guardians now, right? To understand that not everything can be done.
Yeah. No, absolutely, totally get it. You know, I know myself. I've had instances, and I want to ask this with you, and then we're going to get on to talking about your books and stuff. Is was there a soldier that you stuck up for to the chain of command, to say, hey, this soldier is doing right and is doing well, and stick up for that sailor. Have you ever had a time where you've had to stick up for a sailor and say, hey, kind of making a bad mistake maybe, but can we reevaluate this sailor for something else or whatever the case was?
Yeah, absolutely. We get those opportunities often, unfortunately. But in this case, it was a sailor that had done something wrong. They lost their qualifications. Uh, they were rescinded. They were at a higher rank but weren't able to do their job.
Yeah.
And the recommendation was to help them separate.
Yeah.
You know, but this sailor was on their last tour.
Yeah.
This is the difference between retiring and having a paycheck come to you,
Yeah.
or not, and having to fend for yourself. And I just could not see how we were gonna let 19 and a half years, you know, or close to, go to waste.
Yeah.
Go to waste. Now, obviously, the individual has to do what they need to do
Yeah.
in order to get to where they need to stay.
Yeah.
But I did not want to. My recommendation was to allow them, through conversation with their future command, allow them to transfer and finish out their career with an understanding that they could still possibly lose it, given their performance, right?
Yeah.
So it was an agreement between the senior enlisted and the command to allow this sailor to have one more opportunity to retire rightfully, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to just cut him at the knees for what happened at that command. But yeah, that was one instance that I was able to have impact or have influence in the decision of the future of a sailor.
Now, as your time getting out of as you transitioning out of the service, we all know that we get, 2 years or so of training on becoming, a member of, the member of a military of the United States military, and we're having all that time of be able to transition into being in the military to now our time getting out. Did you have were you given the opportunity of like saying, hey, your time is coming up, you're getting out? Did they give you just like a month of, hey, prepare your stuff, you're getting your ETS date is coming up, here's your time, here's like a month, here's 2 weeks, or here's a week? Did they first question is, how much time did they give you to be able to transition out, to actually get stuff set up? And then, wasn't it really, and the second question is, was it enough time for you as, an individual getting back into civilian life?
Yeah, so my situation was peculiar because I was at the what they call high year tenure date,
Yeah.
meaning if you don't promote to the next rank, you have to exit. At the same time, I was coming up on promotion results.
Yeah.
So my high year tenure was, let's say, at the end of the year. The promotion results came out in July. We get notification in August, and I didn't make it. So I had 6 months to get all my stuff in order, retire and move from Hawaii to Orlando. And 6 months, was that enough? We made it enough.
Yeah.
I don't think that it is enough, but we made it enough. But I have a great wife
Yeah.
that took care of everything in terms of making sure that when we exited the military, there was absolutely no debt,
Yeah.
that we were primed with our medical, where we could have enough in savings to pay for lodging or whatever it would be. In this case, we rented a house. That it would be stressless, right?
Yeah.
And because it wasn't stress free, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But having a spouse like that, even with a short time to turn around and say, "Hey, this is it for us," um, it was everything, right? It was
Yeah.
everything to have somebody like her by my side, making sure that everything was taken care of. But yeah, 6 months was hectic. Talk about, my mind was, I'm going to promote
Yeah.
and I'll be able to finish the next 3 years out.
Yeah.
But the cards weren't there for me, and we had to do all of that. Now, uh, transition is still happening for me, and it's
Yeah.
almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost 10 years since I retired. Transition continues. And so for those out there that are, wondering, oh, okay, I'm coming up on my time, that transition period never ends, because you're going to a new job, you're going to go to a new neighborhood, you might have to switch that job. So transition is an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
And I wish that we treated it kind of that way, not such a end all to be all, and that's
Yeah.
it. Although, I will tell you, once the military closes the door, it is it for them, right? Their responsibility and their relationship with you is over. You'll have to find a new tribe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the same goes with it. It's like wherever your last duty station is. Like, speaking of Hawaii, you got to figure out where you want to stay. Do you want to stay in Hawaii? If not, okay, well then, who's picking up the tab to get you back to Orlando? You as the military, you have to pick up that tab, not the military. The military, you as the veteran or the service member, you're the one picking up the tab on paying for that.
Well, thankfully, Hawaii is considered overseas for certain things. The move is one of those, right?
Okay.
So they, because they get you to your home of record.
Yeah.
Right. My home of record happens to be Puerto Rico.
Huh.
So Florida was better for them than sending me back to Puerto Rico. And so, yeah, they covered everything, and everything was good.
See, and I'm still so used to it. It's like, okay, my last duty station was Massachusetts, my home of record, New Hampshire. Yeah. See you later. Have a good one.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere where they have to do it, and it's like I'm so used to it. It's like, yep. See you later. But I mean, it's still that you're still the one that still has to flip a lot of the stuff, and it's still, instead of when it comes to getting down to that wire, just like you said, it's like that you got to make sure you have all your debt taken care of. If not, you're gonna have so much debt that you're still gonna have to take care of. You're gonna have to find a paycheck to be able to pay the bills. You still have to pay certain other bills that are coming up. Just like if you have a wife, I mean, it's great that like yourself and myself, we have the wonderful women that are wives that are able to take care and be able to budget, to be able to pay off those bills and have money still stocked away. I don't know if you've ever followed this guy, but David Ramsey. I swear by him. My wife swears by him. It's the snowball effect and paying everything off and be able to be debt free, and we're literally almost there. We got money saved in the bank account. We've got months of bills that we still have that, we have money in the account and we can live off of that for, 6, 7 months, not a year, and have no income but still live off of what we have in a savings. So, but yeah, it's great that you had the wife like that was able to take care of that and get all that functioning through going and getting all your bills squared away and be able to transition and still continue to transition. It's correct. You will never stop transitioning. It's not it's never a finished done deal with transitioning out. It's the transitioning in to be able to function once you get out of the service. It's just a constant transition, getting yourself back to be able to continue living back in the civilian life, and it's a continuum process. Now I want to switch into talking about you as a bestseller author. How many books have you written to date now?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to participate in 7 books at this time.
Wow.
There's another one that's coming out in the summer, so I'll be looking forward to sharing that once we're getting closer to. But my goal is 10 in my lifetime. If I could do more, that's great, but I'm almost there.
Yeah, no, I mean that's you're setting goals, for like stuff like this, to setting them like you're not having to set lofty goals where it's unreachable, unattainable. You're setting them where it's realistically, and you continue to keep moving that bar. Where you're at. What was the most recent one that you released already?
Yeah, the most recent was a book called Latinos 100, which is a compilation of a group of men that have shared their stories from the Latin aspect and how they overcame challenges and things of that nature, leadership, work, transition, some.
Yep. Now, with that Latino 100, is that like where it's like you have, certain parts of it? Is it like where it's like a barrier where you have to be able to like hurdle yourself through? Is that what it's really talking about? Like, hey, you might have run into these issues, or talking about these kind of issues as as a Latino American, that you run into these things, and these are hurdles that you've probably had to go through. Is it something like that where it's talking about that whole kind of deal?
Yeah, some share their life stories, some share obstacles that they've overcome. I know I focus on my portion was leadership, obviously,
Yeah.
and it's just a way of allowing Latino writers the opportunity to get published and also share their story of either their journey or their overcoming.
Nice. I mean, that's great. I mean, you know, I, my heritage is Portuguese. It's what my family's from. Is
That's where my
Portuguese.
last name is from.
Oh, so I mean, I never really thought myself as a Latino individual, because a lot of people will say, "Well, you're white, you're Caucasian," but I'm like, "Well, yeah, I am," but the last name, I pronounce it probably incorrect, which I know my builder who built my house, says, "No, it's pronounced this way," but I'm like, I don't know. I pronounce it this way. This is how, I guess the Americans pronounce it. But I did a research on it, and I'm like, oh, it's Portuguese, and I ended up doing it all got back to where my family crest is at. Talked to some of a lot of the family, the older family members, and they're like, "Yep, that's it, that's right, And I'm like, "Wow," and I'm like, I've always considered myself not as a Latino or anything because it's not what I was, kind of brought up as. My mother was kind of more saying, nope, this is who you are, this is who you are. But it's amazing, and seeing people write books and talk about, their background, and I go back and look at mine, and I'm like, wow, it's kind of amazing that everybody's talking about certain things, and I kind of looked into my background, as I got older.
And Portugal's a beautiful, beautiful country.
It is.
Hopefully, one day you'll be able to go there.
That's my goal. Is I've traveled enough. I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt to a lot of other places, and the builder who built my house, he's from Portugal. He has a house there in Portugal, and I kid you not, he's like, it's beautiful. He always tells me about it every time he goes, and I'm like, man, that's absolutely amazing, and I would love to be there. I'd love to go there. He's like, it's so cheap there, so cheap, so cheap.
It is.
I'm like, what do you mean cheap? He says, landscaping, how much do you pay now? And I'm like, well, I pay this much money for landscaping for the year. He says, oh, that's too much. In Portugal, I pay like $300 for the year. I'm like, what? He says, yeah.
It's on the list of one of the best places to live if you're, let's say, leaving the U.S. to go have your dollar last longer.
Yeah.
Portugal is on the list.
Yeah. No, and it is. It's beautiful, and his house is even friggin' immaculate. It's marble and granite and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, I would love to buy the house, but I can't afford it. I know you're gonna want more money from me. But he goes, no, we'll figure it out later on. I'm like, all right. He's like I think 80 something years old, and he's still jumping around and going into excavators, and I'm like, dude, you're getting old. He says, age is nothing. It's like, it's crazy. I'm like, man, guys, you're crazy. But so I know you say that you have another book that's going to be coming out, which you'll provide more information on that later on, once it gets closer. Is it where can the viewers buy these or even view these books if they want to take a look at these books?
Yeah, they're all on Amazon. You can find them all. Most of my selection there, the last 7 books are off. You can find it on Amazon.
Nice. Now, with that being said, I mean, how did you know you wanted to get into writing books and doing that kind of experience?
Well, it started with an invitation actually to participate from a gentleman, and that was my first time doing some type of collaboration as far as author is concerned. But after I did the first one, it just makes sense to continue.
Yeah.
Because you soon realize that your life is a blip, it's a blip in time. And most memories will erase you. Right? Not all the people that are around, unless there's somebody keeping tabs on who's this ancestor or another, like I am. I have ancestors on my wall, my picture wall at my home that go back to the 1800s. But that's something that I'm interested in, right? Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
And so I figured that, hey, I didn't want to be a fleeting memory as if I was never around.
Yes.
And the one way I can ensure that my work, my thoughts, my expressions would be around way longer than I would,
Yeah.
is to be an author in a book that resides forever.
Yeah. Because I mean, books will last forever. That stuff will always be around. I mean, unless for some reason there's a nuclear holocaust, but
People, how do we have the letters of the Bible? Somebody put it in a jar, they stuck it in a cave, and
yep,
we found it, right? So this is the thing. I mean, we would not even have a reference point for any figure in our history
yeah,
as long as we've been human if somebody didn't write it down, right? So
correct.
that's what I wanted to do, and not only have that for me, but also provide that opportunity for others to partake in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's so true. I mean, I've seen so many individuals. I've seen stories of how the alphabet came to being, the alphabet, and how it was like etched into like these walls and stuff, and it was like it's absolutely amazing on how a lot of this stuff has come up. But again, it as you're saying, it's like it has to be written down, and that's how a lot of the stuff we interpret now was stamped into the walls, into the rock, or whatnot, and it was brought to being, going into books and going into everything else. Which it's kind of crazy, but it's how things got done, to compare it to nowadays. I mean, shoot, we didn't have pen and paper way back when, 1800s, probably even back farther than that. But it's great that we're able to interpret things and be able to see how our ancestors, were brought up, and how things became by things that are written down. That's one of the biggest things. Um, you know, if the viewers are watching this, and and you want, do you do any like motivational speaking um, events and stuff like that? Do you have anything that's coming up, or anything like that?
Yeah, I do motivational speaking through the John Maxwell program.
Yeah.
I'm certified through them, but they can visit me on my website, and they can book speaking engagements there. I do both virtual or in person.
Nice.
And, there's always now, the way things are going, some of the conferences are scaling back because of, the climate in terms of federal government
Yeah.
and things of that nature. But I'm always available if booked through that through the website.
So through your website, they can book either a virtual or in person.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, that's good. I mean, because I know I have some business owners that watch this. There's a guy that Barry Scott Barry, who owns he's a, how do you say it? He owns a big car dealership up here, Long Cadillac, and I know he does a lot of stuff with his employees. And so I'll have all this information down below as a pinned comment, stuff like that. Do you have any? I know a lot of people I do talk to, and bring on, they have like merchandise or stuff that they like, websites. Which, I mean, I know you sell you have books and stuff like that through Amazon. On any of your websites, can they purchase the books or anything directly from you on your website?
Yeah, they could do that on the website, as well as any merch that we have on there as well.
All right, perfect. And we'll have all that again pinned up down below. As we're getting close to the end of it, to the end of the show, is there, something that you want to be able to tell the viewers, as like a motivational wise, to them to keep them going.
Yeah, don't focus on the external, because there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. There's a lot of things that can really get you anxious because
Yeah.
of this, just the not knowing.
Yeah.
Try to have a center for yourself. If you can do that, my center is God, obviously.
Yeah.
One of the strongest centers that I could think of. And so when things around me look the darkest,
Yeah.
I go to my center. I go to my center, and everything right sizes itself from there. So, there's a lot of questions on future. There's a lot of questions on our nation as a whole.
Yeah.
And you just have to have that center to survive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't say it any better than that. Myself, and, I have, God as my center, and I've gone to the same church now it's all through virtual, but I've been going through it since I was, 8th grade, 7th grade, maybe. It's what you believe. I mean, as what we believe in, and it all depends on whatever that center is. And for some people, it might be a little bit different, and totally get it. That's your thing. But as you and I, our center is, would be God, is what we wrap around and be able to, focus on. So, without further ado, I want to say thank you. We definitely do appreciate you coming on. Definitely want to get you back on some other time. But to all the viewers, until next time, we salute you guys. Stay safe. Keep it out there. Keep it 1,000. Make sure if you definitely need any help or anything, or need to get through and talk, I am around 24/7, 365. Just reach out and give me a shout. We'll be out and about and doing the track day for veterans, everybody. Till next time, we'll see you guys later.
Thank you for supporting Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast. Please make sure to like and follow Homeland Heroes on all of your social media outlets. Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast is a Foo Bar Studios Sinista1 co-production.